Some flowers bloom to be admired. Others bloom to feed. When Mia returns to her hometown after her sister's mysterious death, she uncovers a chilling truth buried beneath the soil of her family's ancestral land. The townspeople speak in whispers, the fields never wither, and the scarecrows watch. As she digs deeper, ancient rituals, a forgotten cult, and a hunger that transcends generations begin to unravel. What if the roots of your bloodline were never human to begin with? This isn't just a story of survival, it's a reckoning. Press play, but remember, once the bloom chooses you, there's no turning back. The body in the field had no face. Sheriff Ed Cartwright stood by the edge of the dried-up soybean field, hands resting on his hips, the Kansas wind tugging gently at the brim of his Stetson. The late autumn sun filtered through the skeletal arms of the bare cottonwoods lining the property, casting long, twitching shadows across the ground. What was left of the man, a shredded plaid shirt, scorched boots, skin like waxy parchment, rested face down in the furrows. Except there was no face at all. Just smooth, cratered flesh from hairline to chin, as if God had run out of clay halfway through creation and simply quit. "You seen anything like this before?" Deputy Lana Moore asked beside him, trying to sound calm but failing. She had only been with the department 6 months. Ed didn't answer right away. His eyes weren't on the body anymore. They were drifting toward the crooked scarecrow that stood maybe 20 yards further out, slumped over like a drunk in church. One arm was missing. A black bird clung to the other, pecking idly at something between its talons. The wind pushed at the old hat on the scarecrow's head, revealing tufts of hair underneath. Real hair. Too real. "This land used to belong to the Bonners, right?" Ed finally said, ignoring Lena's question. She nodded. "Yeah. Abandoned since '98. State auctioned it off last spring, but no one bid. Locals call it Hollow Acres now. You know, 'cause of that story." Ed gave her a look. "Don't." But it was too late. Lana had already stirred something. That name, Hollow Acres, still made older folks in Elkhart lock their doors before sundown. Not that the younger generation paid much attention. They laughed at the stories, called it Dust Bowl paranoia, but Ed had grown up 3 towns over. He remembered. "We'll need to get him out before dark," Ed muttered. "Him?" Lana looked confused. "You sure it's a he?" "No, but I don't want to be here after sunset, regardless." They called in the county coroner, who took photos, measured things, whispered something under his breath Ed didn't quite catch, then packed the body into a black bag, like it might try to crawl away if he wasn't quick enough. Ed watched the whole thing with narrowed eyes. Something about the way the field bent around the scarecrow seemed wrong. Too still, too quiet, like the land was holding its breath. That night, Ed didn't go home. Instead, he drove to the edge of town and parked outside the Elkhart Public Records Office, an ugly brown brick building left over from the 1950s. He used his old key to get in, it still worked even after his retirement 3 years ago, and started digging through the archive room in the back. He found what he was looking for in a dusty manila folder marked Bonner Property, Incident 1951. It held only 3 pages. One was a report about a missing farmhand. The second, a yellowed photograph of an aerial view of the farm. The third was handwritten. No header, no date, just a single sentence in pencil. "The scarecrow watches at dusk." Ed stared at the page for a long time, then he flipped it over. Nothing on the back. He left the folder open and stepped outside for air. The town was dead silent. The kind of silence only small towns could achieve, where even the wind seemed to forget its path. He called Father Delaney, the retired priest who used to run St. Jude's before they shuttered it. "Something's happening out at the Bonner place," Ed said. On the other end, silence. Then, "You saw it too, didn't you?" Ed swallowed. "Something's wrong with the land." "There's always been something wrong with that land. You never told me why." "You never asked." Ed gritted his teeth. "I'm asking now." "Come by tomorrow," the priest said, "but not after dark." The call ended before Ed could argue. By the time he got home, The first of the nightmares had already crept into his subconscious. The field, the body, the faceless scream that never left the throat. When he woke up around 2:46 a.m., sweat-soaked and shaking, he thought he heard a soft tapping at the window. But when he looked, there was nothing there. Only the shadow of the Scarecrow swaying in the cornfield behind his backyard. Though he lived miles from Hollow Acre, the next morning, Ed drove out to St. Jude's. The church was shuttered and peeling, the bell tower tilted slightly like it had grown tired of standing tall. Father Delaney was already waiting, seated on the stone steps, rosary coiled around his fingers. "You remember the old stories, Ed?" the priest asked without preamble. "Bits and pieces. Then you'll remember the bonfires." Ed did, vaguely. Every third Friday in October, when he was a boy, the town held a cleansing out by the East Fields. They called it a harvest ritual, said it was for luck, for the soil, but it was always at dusk, always around scarecrows. They weren't just traditions, Father Delaney said, they were containment. Ed stared at him. Containment of what? The thing that lives under the field. The priest's words were quiet, absolute. Ed sat down slowly. "You're saying something's buried there?" "Not buried, bound," Ed scoffed. "You expect me to believe some kind of demons chained to a soybean field in Kansas? I expect nothing from you. I only tell you what the Bonners told my predecessor, who told me. That land feeds on identity, on names, faces." Ed felt his stomach tighten. The body, the missing face, the photograph with no names attached, the single sentence, "The Scarecrow watches at dusk." "I think it's waking up again," the priest added. Ed looked out past the chapel. The field stretched into the haze, endless and dry. And somewhere out there a scarecrow stood, missing an arm, hiding someone else's face. He said nothing, but in his gut, Ed knew they weren't dealing with a murderer. They were dealing with something far older and far less human. Ed didn't go home after leaving St. Jude's. He drove instead to the Elkhart Historical Society, a small clapboard building tucked behind the shuttered movie theater on Main. It smelled like paper and mold and something older, like time had decayed in the corners. Mrs. Harriet, the local historian who'd been working there since the Nixon era, sat behind the counter with a cardigan draped over her shoulders and a paperback copy of The Turn of the Screw on her lap. "Edward Cartwright," she said without looking up. "Now, what brings you crawling out of retirement?" "I'm looking for anything on the Bonner family," he said. "Land records, news clippings, old town rituals, if you got 'em." That got her attention. She looked up over her glasses and studied him for a long beat. "That land's cursed, you know." "I'm starting to think so." Harriet pursed her lips, then stood, slowly, and motioned for him to follow her. She led him down a narrow hall to a file room filled with shelves bowing under the weight of old newspapers and microfilm reels. From a drawer marked 19401960, she pulled a thin red binder and handed it over without another word. Ed flipped it open. The first few pages were faded news articles. Bonner Farm wins State Yield Award, 1948. Fire destroys barn, 1950. Then, further in, local boy disappears in corn maze, never found, 1951. Below it, a black and white photograph of the boy's family. The mother's face was blurry, mid-turn. The boy's was sharp, innocent. But what struck Ed most was the scarecrow behind them in the distance, tall, almost regal, with a stitch grin carved too wide. There were 2 buttons sewn into the sack for eyes. Someone had circled the scarecrow in red pen. Underneath, "It changes." He looked up. "Harriet, who wrote this?" She shrugged. "Some drifter dropped it off in 78. Never left a name. Claimed he'd worked the fields with the Bonners before the barn burned down. Told me the land wasn't meant to be farmed, it was meant to be fed." Ed didn't say anything. He closed the binder slowly, reverently, like it might explode if shut too fast. On the way back to the station, his phone buzzed. "Lana." "You're gonna want to see this," she said. 15 minutes later, they stood in the county morgue, staring at the autopsy results from the faceless corpse. "Dr. Chin says there's no evidence of trauma," Lana said. "No knife, no acid, no chemicals. Skin's intact, just smooth. Like it never formed at all." "What about dental records?" "Teeth were normal, but get this. He had 2 rows of molars, like a shark. Chin says that only happens in rare genetic mutations, or..." She hesitated. "Or..." Ed ran a hand over his face. "Jesus Christ. There's more. The clothing? It's from a department store in Ashland that closed in 1991. Receipt was still in the wallet, dated 1989. Ed frowned. "That's 35 years ago." "Yeah, but the guy's fingerprints aren't in any system. No ID. And Chen says his stomach was full of corn husks." Ed looked at her. "Corn husks? Dry, brittle, like he'd been eating the field." Neither of them spoke for a while. Outside, the sun was beginning to sink, the sky washed in pale violet and the faint orange of early dusk. Ed's mind drifted back to the Scarecrow again. How it had seemed to lean slightly toward him, how it had real hair. He remembered the crow on its arm, the missing limb, the silence of the field. That night, Ed returned to the Bonner farm. He shouldn't have. Every instinct in him screamed to stay away. But he brought a flashlight, a .38 revolver he hadn't fired in years, and the red binder under his arm. The gate creaked open like it had been waiting for him. The path through the field was different now, less like soil, more like bruised skin. The corn stalks, long dead, rustled faintly even without wind. He made his way to the Scarecrow. It hadn't moved, not visibly, but its head was turned now, tilted slightly, as if listening. The stitched mouth seemed longer, the buttons blacker, and there were fresh patches sewn into his burlap chest, pieces of denim, cotton, flannel, chart scraps. Ed lifted the flashlight. "Who are you?" he asked out loud. The wind died, and something beneath the ground shifted. A low groan. Not quite human, not quite earth. He stepped back, stumbled, and landed on something soft. When he turned the beam down, he saw the boot. A second body, half buried, wearing the same uniform he wore. No, not just the same nameplate. Cartwright. Ed scrambled back, heart hammering. The Scarecrow loomed overhead, its shadow stretching long across the field. And then, from behind him, a voice whispered close to his ear. "The land remembers, Sheriff." He spun, flashlight jerking wildly. Nothing. Only the stalks. The dark. The wind rising like breath on his neck. When he turned back, the Scarecrow had raised its missing arm. It was pointing at him. The dead sometimes hum if you listen long enough. It was barely audible at first, a tremor beneath the sound of tires humming along county road asphalt. But as Lana sat behind the wheel, heading back toward Hollow Acres at the break of dawn, the hum settled into her bones like the vibration of a tuning fork. She told herself it was the engine, or the caffeine, or the sleep she hadn't had in 36 hours. But deep down, something quieter answered. It's waking up. The field had been taped off. Sheriff Cartwright had called in a state-level forensic team under the vague premise of possible unmarked graves on rural property. But Lana knew it was more than that. She had seen the way Ed looked when he emerged from the cornfield the night before, his hands shaking, eyes wide, the flashlight clutched like a crucifix. "You don't go back there alone," he'd warned her, voice hollow. "If I'm not back by noon, burn the goddamn place down." She hadn't laughed, not even a nervous chuckle. Now parked beside the battered mailbox marked Bonner in flaked red paint, she watched the mist crawl over the field like something living. The Scarecrow was gone, or maybe just out of view. The crops had shifted again, closed tighter, rows that didn't line up anymore. She glanced at the passenger seat. The red binder was still there. She opened it, flipping to the last page Ed had marked. A handwritten note, barely legible. "They don't plant crops. They plant remembrance." The field is the altar. The Scarecrow is the priest. She closed the binder. A knock on the window made her jump. 'Twas the coroner, Dr. Chen, thin as a scarecrow himself, with silver glasses and 2 clean shoes for a field like this. "Found something," he said. "You'll want to see it." He led her behind the northern stretch of the cornfield to where a crew had begun digging around the shallow grave Ed stumbled into. What they uncovered wasn't just one body, it was 7. All adults, all in various stages of preservation, all wearing uniforms, sheriffs, deputies, one woman in a park ranger outfit from a service that no longer existed. Lana's stomach turned. "They're all law enforcement?" she asked. Chen nodded. "Far as I can tell. But here's where it gets worse." He pointed to one of the corpses. Its hands were missing, not torn, not decayed, just cleanly absent, as if removed with surgical precision. And this one? Chen gestured to another. Its mouth was sewn shut with coarse twine. "Who the hell does something like this?" Lana asked. Chen didn't answer. Instead, he pulled a small object from a plastic badge, a rusted deputy badge cracked straight through. On the back was something scratched in with a knife. A watch from the rows. Lana felt her breath catch. That night, she stayed at the sheriff's office after locking the field down with every patrol car in town. But it didn't help. At 3:17 a.m. the phones began to ring. All of them. No caller ID, just static. And beneath it, whispers. So many at once they blurred into one another like wind through dry stalks. She yanked the cord on hers. The line went dead. Then, one voice rose above the others. A child's. "Miss Deputy?" it said. "I left you something in your car." She froze. Her cruiser was parked right outside. Her sidearm was holstered under the desk. Another phone rang. She didn't answer. She ran. The hallway felt longer than usual. Fluorescence flickered overhead. As she shoved through the front doors and approached the cruiser, she saw it. A doll, sitting on her driver's seat. It wore overalls, burlap for a head, 2 buttons for eyes. In its lap, a small handwritten note. "One of you must remember." The doll stared back at her, blank and silent, its button eyes gleaming under the cruiser's dome light. Lana didn't touch it. She didn't even open the door. Instead, she stood there in the cold morning haze, heart pounding against her ribs like it was trying to break free. The mist had thickened around the station lot, creeping up from the fields, turning the world gray. Then she noticed something else. There were footprints on the hood of her car, tiny, barefoot, leading from the windshield up and over the roof. She stepped back. Her boot crunched on gravel, except it didn't sound like gravel. It sounded like corn husks, dry, brittle. She looked down. The parking lot was gone. In its place, rows of knee-high stalks stretched outward into fog. The station building, the cruiser, the street lamps, all swallowed by the rising corn. She stood in the only clearing left, no larger than a kitchen table, and there was whispering again, closer this time. She turned, instinctively reaching for her sidearm. Gone. The holster on her hip was empty. Behind her, the doll still sat in the cruiser, only the cruiser was half sunken now into the corn rows, as if the earth had begun swallowing it whole. "Miss Deputy," the voice came again, not from the doll, from the corn. "You don't remember the harvest," it said. She ran. Branches clawed at her sleeves, leaves sliced across her cheek. The corn was too tight, too alive, the rows shifting with every step. She tripped over a root and fell hard, catching herself on a flat stone embedded in the soil. At first she thought it was part of an old foundation, until she saw the inscription. A single name, Bonner, and beneath it, carved in smaller, older hand, seeded 1873, reaped 1921, buried 1966. She stared at it, blood dripping from her lip where she'd bitten through. The whispering stopped. For a long moment, everything went still. The stalks stopped moving. The fog paused. Then something touched her shoulder. She turned and fired. There was nothing. Her gun was back in her hand. She didn't question it. She ran again, through what felt like an eternity of green and gray. When she finally broke through the last row, she spilled out onto pavement. The cruiser was there, parked exactly where she'd left it. No corn, no doll. But in the passenger seat now sat the red binder, open to a different page, one she hadn't seen before. The Scarecrow Rite, a ritual of remembrance, a covenant between the hollow and the tiller. Each season, one must stand, one must kneel, one must vanish. The field remembers. The field selects. Lana blinked. A sharp pain shot through her temple. Her phone buzzed. It was Ed. His voice was tight, strained. "You need to get to the Historical Society right now." She didn't ask questions. 20 minutes later, she pulled up outside a weathered building that might have once been a train depot. The local Historical Society sat near the edge of town, barely maintained, more of a community attic than an archive. Ed met her at the door, face pale. "You're not gonna like this," he said. Inside, the two of them huddled around a stack of dusty files pulled from the back of a locked cabinet marked Closed Requests. These were the original complaints, filed by Martha Bonner's father, Ed said. Early 1900s. He wasn't just some grieving farmer. He petitioned the state 3 times. Lana flipped through the documents. Birds jumped out. Crop rot without cause. Unseasonal fog. Livestock found with mouths sewn shut. Another page. Claim. Scarecrow follows the children. Another. March 7, 1921. Daughter Martha disappeared during annual harvest rites. Filed as runaway. Lana felt her stomach twist. "She didn't run," she whispered. Ed nodded. "No, she didn't." He handed her one final document. Yellowed, water damaged. A faded photo showed a group of children in overalls standing before a cornfield. Center frame, a tall scarecrow, burlap head, no arms, button eyes. But Lana saw it. Not the scarecrow. The girl standing beside it. The same face as the one on the missing poster Ed had pinned weeks ago. It wasn't Martha. It was the girl from the church photo. The one missing since last fall. "How the hell?" she started. Ed tapped the edge of the photo. This was taken in 1918. They stared at each other, realization coiling like smoke in the air. The scarecrow didn't just mark something. It remembered. It waited. Back in her cruiser that night, Lana couldn't sleep. She read through every page, every record. There were too many patterns, too many children missing, too many disappearances marked accidental or just forgotten. She glanced in the rearview mirror. Something shifted behind her. She turned. The back seat was empty, but the doll had returned. Its head tilted sideways now. In its lap, a fresh note. "It's your turn to kneel." There's a certain silence in Hollow Acres that doesn't belong to the natural world. Not the hush of windless mornings or the damp quiet of fog. It's something else. A watching silence. Like the town itself is holding its breath. Lana felt it the moment she stepped onto the porch of the Morris place. The house was old. Older than the paved roads that cut through the county. Older than any living resident save perhaps one or two. Its paint peeled in long curling strips like bark. Crows perched on the chimney, not moving, not cawing, just there. Silent sentries. She knocked twice. No answer. She knocked again, harder. Footsteps inside, slow, reluctant. Then the door creaked open, revealing a woman with a face like cracked parchment. Millicent Morris. Widow. Keeper of the Bonner archives according to Ed. And if whispers were true, a distant cousin to the Hollow's oldest family line. "I don't talk to uniforms," she said, eyes narrowing. "I'm not here as a cop," Lana replied. "I'm here as a Bonner." That gave her pause. Just enough. Millicent opened the door wider, but only a crack. "You know what that name means here?" "I'm starting to." "Then turn around and forget it. That name carries rot." "I don't scare easy." Millicent studied her a moment, then huffed. Suit yourself." The door opened fully. Inside, the air was heavy with the scent of dried herbs and old earth. Bundles of rosemary and sage hung from the rafters. Jars lined every shelf. Preserves, bones, feathers, wax-sealed scrolls. Lana felt like she'd stepped into a museum curated by witches. Millicent moved with surprising agility, her steps sure, even on warped floorboards. "You're not the first Bonner to come knocking, you know. Your mother tried once." Lana stiffened. "You knew her?" Millicent didn't answer. She reached for a rusted tin box, pulled it down, and set it between them at the table. The latch opened with a sigh. Inside were photographs, some burned at the edges, newspaper clippings, handwritten notes in a script so angular it looked like it had been carved instead of written. One photo caught Lana's eye. A field at dusk. In the middle stood 3 figures, 2 children and a man wearing a Scarecrow's hat. The label read, "Reaping Night, 1954. "What is this?" Lana asked. Millicent didn't look at the photo. "The price." "For what?" "For keeping the hollow fed." "You're talking in riddles." "No," Milla said. "I'm talking in truth. You just don't like how it sounds." Lana sifted through the papers. One of them was a list. Names, dates, ages. All children. Some had check marks next to them. Some had crosses. Some had nothing. "I've seen lists like this," Lana whispered. "They match the disappearances Ed flagged." Millicent gave a slow nod. "The town doesn't forget. It just agrees not to speak." Lana clenched her jaw. "So everyone's just okay with it? Letting it happen? Letting them take kids?" Millicent's eyes flashed, suddenly cold. "You think it's that simple? That the hollow asks permission, it chooses? It always has." She reached into the box again and pulled out a yellowed envelope. "This belonged to your grandmother, Clara Bonner." Lana took it slowly. Inside were pages of journal entries. She read aloud, "September 22, 1966. The corn turned red again, just like it did before the twins vanished. I told Father we should burn it all, but he said the right comes first. Always the right." I hear the whispering again. It's louder now, closer. "I think it knows I'm pregnant." Lana froze. Pregnant? Her grandmother had only had 1 child. Her mother. But that wasn't the part that chilled her. It was the final line of the page. "If it's a girl, I'll name her Lana." She looked up at Millicent, whose expression had softened just slightly. "You knew this?" Lana said. "I knew it'd find you," Millicent replied. "The field always calls the blood back." "Then what am I supposed to do?" Millicent leaned in. "You either kneel or you dig." Lana slammed the box shut. "No, not this time. No more vanished children. No more lies." She stood, shaking. "I'm going to find the truth, and when I do, I'm burning that damn field to the ground." Millicent only nodded, as if that too was part of the cycle. Outside, the mist had thickened again. Lana stepped off the porch and nearly collided with someone standing in the fog. It was a child, a boy, maybe 8 years old, pale, freckles, wearing a burlap vest and no shoes. He looked up at her, eyes wide and strange. "Are you here for the kneeling?" he asked. Lana's breath caught. "Who are you?" The boy didn't answer. He simply turned and walked into the corn, leaving no footprints behind. The boy's bare feet made no sound as he slipped into the cornfield, and Lana followed, though everything in her screamed not to. Each stalk was a wall, taller than her, thicker than any corn she'd ever seen. The moment she stepped into the field, the world changed. The light dimmed, the temperature dropped, and the silence became alive. It wasn't quiet, not really. It was the kind of silence that carried breath, the kind that pressed on your eardrums like a scream too high to hear. Lana moved slowly, one hand brushing aside the waxy leaves, the other on the grip of her holstered sidearm, not because she thought a gun would help, but because it made her feel less helpless. She called out, "Hey, kid!" No answer. Then, soft whispering. It came from all directions, voices like dried leaves dragging across bone. Not English, not even words, just invocation. She turned in a circle. The rows of corn were endless. There was no path, no gaps, no logic. Something moved to her left. She spun. Nothing. Something brushed her shoulder. She whirled again. Still nothing. But when she looked down, her boots were no longer on dry earth. They stood in blood-soaked soil. Her heels sank slightly into the wetness. Dark patches soaked up through the toes of her jeans, and in front of her, rising like a ghost from the mist, was a clearing. In its center stood a scarecrow, only this one was wrong. It was massive, easily 7 feet tall. Its limbs weren't straw, they were bone, wrapped in skin, still glistening. Its head was a burlap sack, stained red at the seams, stitched with something that looked like human hair. The pole it hung from pulsed slightly, and from its ribs hung small tokens, bracelets, pacifiers, baby shoes. Lana's stomach turned. Jesus Christ! From behind her, the whispering grew louder. She turned, and the boy was back. Standing a few yards away, eyes wide and glistening, he pointed to the scarecrow. "You came," he said. I don't know what this is. I don't know what you want." He looked at her sadly. "It's not what I want." A new voice came from deeper in the fog. "It's what the field wants." Lana spun toward it. An old man stepped forward, stooped, sunburnt, with eyes like 2 dull coins. His overalls were soaked with something dark. He carried a hooked blade used for harvesting corn. "I tried to stop them," he said, "long ago. I burned my own fields, thought I could cut it out, but it grows back, always does." "Who are you?" He didn't answer. He simply gestured to the scarecrow. "They call it the first root. Been here since the land was cursed." Lana's voice trembled. "What?" The man knelt, pressing a weathered hand into the soil. "This land was stolen. Blood sealed it, and the hollow remembers." The boy stepped forward. "Each season, it takes what it's owed." Lana felt something behind her again. Movement. Wrongness. She turned, and this time the scarecrow had moved closer. She hadn't heard it, hadn't seen it shift, but it had. Now its head was cocked slightly to one side, watching. The old man whispered, "Some say it's the spirit of the first settler who made the deal. Others say it's what's left when a town sacrifices too many of its own. Doesn't matter, it grows on fear, on silence." Lana took a shaky breath. "And the children? They're roots now," the boy said. "They feed the field. I'm going to burn this place to the damned ground." The scarecrow twitched. The sky above cracked, not with thunder, but with a sound like splitting flesh. A red streak tore across the clouds. Lana grabbed the boy's arm. "We're leaving." The old man didn't move. Once the rite begins, there's no walking away. She yanked the boy and ran, pushing through corn that felt more like limbs than stalks. The field twisted, folded in on itself. For every row she cleared, another rose in its place. The boy stumbled. She grabbed him again. A voice, her mother's voice, whispered from the stalks. "Lana, stay." She froze. The boy tugged at her hand. "Don't listen." But the voice came again, this time clearer, familiar. "I did it for you." "No," Lana whispered. "No, you're not real." The scarecrow was there again, directly in front of her, closer than before. Its burlap head slowly began to stretch, threads popping, revealing something beneath. A jaw. Human, torn lips, teeth black with soil, and a voice that was hers. "Come home." Not everything buried stays dead. Some things root. Lana awoke face down in the dirt. Her mouth was full of soil, her lungs burned. She clawed her way up, spitting mud and blood, her heart hammering against her ribs like a warning bell. Above her, the sky was no longer night. It was wrong. A dull maroon had replaced the stars, like flesh stretched tight over bone. The cornfields were gone, or at least they looked gone, now distant like a painted wall. The ground beneath her pulsed faintly, as if something deep below was breathing. She wiped the grime from her face and tried to stand. Her legs were weak, aching. Her memory fogged, as if pieces of her had been taken. And then came the smell, sweet, rotting, floral, a scent like funeral lilies and spoiled fruit. Lana turned slowly. Rows of scarecrows stretched into the horizon. Hundreds, maybe thousands, each impaled on rusted iron poles, arms spread wide, heads drooping. Some wore tattered clothes, others had faces carved into gourds. A few wore human skin, she whispered to herself. What is this place? Then she saw the boy. He was standing on a hill of dirt nearby, barefoot, blank-faced, pointing at the largest scarecrow among them. It was enormous, twice the height of the others. Unlike the rest, this one moved, slowly, imperceptibly, as if swaying to a rhythm only it could hear. The wind wasn't blowing, and yet it danced. The boy looked back at her, voice quiet but clear. You shouldn't have looked behind the veil. I was trying to help you, she said. You did. Now you can't leave. A sound rose behind her. Shick, 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 like knives tapping stone. She turned just in time to see one of the scarecrows twitch, then another, then a dozen. Each moved subtly, heads tilting, arms sagging, some twisting on their poles like broken weather vanes. Lana took a step back. I need to go. The boy only said, You've already been planted. She looked down. Her boots were half submerged in the dirt. She hadn't noticed. The earth had swallowed her ankles. Frantic, she yanked her legs, pulling free with a sickening squelch. Chunks of black mud clung to her skin, riddled with bits of bone and hair. She limped toward the boy, but he was already walking away, toward the hill where the largest scarecrow stood. The ground groaned beneath her. She followed. As she climbed the hill, the air grew thick, like walking into water. Every breath stung. The red sky pulsed, her ears popped with pressure. The world bent in on itself. At the top, the boy stood at the base of the scarecrow. Up close, it was worse. Its limbs were wrapped in wire. Nails jutted from its elbows. Dozens of children's teeth had been sewn into a grotesque smile across its chest. Around its feet, hundreds of small objects had been arranged. Dolls, matchbox cars, shoes, locks of hair, offerings. The boy looked up. She made this one herself, he said. Who? Lana asked, not sure she wanted the answer. He turned to her. Your mother. Lana stared at him. That's not possible. She was the harvest maiden once, before she ran. He pointed behind her. Lana turned. The fields of scarecrows had vanished. In their place stood a cabin, small, crumbling, familiar. It was her mother's cabin, the one she used to visit during the summers, the one that burned down in a lightning storm 15 years ago. Only now it stood whole again, smoke curling from the crooked chimney, lights flickering behind stained curtains. A porch swing creaked slowly, though no wind blew. I don't understand, Lana whispered. The boy took her hand. You will, but you have to go inside. The house does not remember time. It remembers blood. Lana stepped onto the porch. The wooden planks moaned under her boots like something breathing. The air had changed. It was heavy now, thick with a scent she hadn't smelled since childhood. Sage, smoke, and a faint trace of vinegar. The swing still creaked slowly behind her. No wind, just rhythm. She reached for the doorknob. It was already warm, like someone had just turned it. The door opened on its own. Inside, the cabin was identical to how she remembered it, but older, deeper, like a memory grown rotten at the edges. The furniture hadn't changed. The couch with the floral pattern, the porcelain lamp with a crack down its base, the row of mason jars filled with dried herbs above the fireplace. But there were additions. On the floor, a ring of ash and bones carefully arranged. Animal skulls hung above every doorway. The TV, long dead, played static. And carved into the far wall, so deep it bled into the wood, was a single phrase. The maiden, her mouth went dry. She took a step forward and the door slammed shut behind her. No boy, no hill, no red sky, just silence. Her reflection blinked at her from the cracked mirror above the fireplace, but not in sync. It blinked a moment later, then smiled, just barely. She looked away. The house groaned again. From the hallway she heard humming. Low, female, a lullaby in a key too old to remember. Her hand went instinctively to her jacket pocket. The locket. She pulled it out. Still cold, still empty. The hallway stretched longer than it should have, like the house had grown while she wasn't looking. She walked forward. One step, then another. On the wall, old family photos. Only they weren't quite right. In one, her mother stood by a scarecrow, hand on its chest, smiling. But the field behind her was black. The sky a swirling spiral of teeth. In another, Lana herself, 5 years old, stood barefoot in a ritual circle, her eyes all pupil, her mouth open in a scream that wasn't hers. She passed a door, paused. The humming was coming from behind it. She opened it slowly. Inside was the kitchen, but it had changed. The wallpaper peeled in strips. A large wooden table dominated the center, carved with runes. Jars of preserved things lined the shelves. Fingers, feathers, tongues, all suspended in amber fluid. At the head of the table sat a woman, hair long and gray, skin pale and thin as wax, eyes closed. "Mom?" Lana's voice cracked. The woman opened her eyes. They were all black. "You came back," she said, not smiling. "I don't understand." "You will. Sit." Lana remained standing. The woman placed something on the table. It was the other half of the locket. "You left this in the soil," she said. "When you ran." Lana's knees buckled. She sat. "I thought you were dead." "I was, for a while. But roots don't die. They wait." "What is this place?" Her mother traced a rune with one long cracked fingernail. "Hollow acres. The ground remembers everything. Every deal, every offering, every broken vow. You lied to me. My whole life, I protected you. Until I couldn't." The humming began again, not from the woman this time, but from the walls, the jars, the floor, a chorus rising. Her mother's face twisted, not cruel, not kind, just tired. "They're coming, the old ones. They remember their bride." "I'm not her." "You are." Lana stood, but her body didn't feel like hers. Her hands shook, her chest felt hollow. "You were born during the harvest moon, just like me, just like my mother, and hers before her." She turned to the window. Outside, the field was back. Only now the scarecrows were moving, not slowly, not subtly. They were walking, hundreds of them. Her mother stood, hands raised. "They'll take me, again. That's the trade. But you have to bury it, deep." "Bury what?" Her mother reached into her own chest. No knife, no scream, just fingers sliding under skin, peeling back bone like wet paper. And she pulled out a black seed, still beating. "Plant it where the blood runs cold," she said, "before they find the child." What child? But it was too late. The door burst open, and the boy stood there again, but his eyes had changed. They were full of worms. "You can't run from something growing inside you." The boy didn't speak. He didn't need to. His eyes, those crawling, writhing pits of larvae, were enough. Lana stumbled back, her heel catching the leg of the wooden table. Her mother was slumped over now, chest still gaping open, the black seed pulsing faintly on the floor like it had a heartbeat of its own. The boy stepped into the room, barefoot, skin glistening with something too thick to be sweat. In his tiny hand he held a burlap sack. It twitched. "Don't come closer," Lana whispered. Though her voice barely carried past her throat, her feet moved on their own. Her body had become an echo chamber of impulse and terror. But the boy only tilted his head. Then he placed the sack gently beside her mother's corpse and pointed to the window. The field outside was gone. In its place stretched an ocean of roots, long tangled cords of red-black tendrils writhing across a gray horizon like veins on diseased skin. Hanging from them were dozens, no, hundreds of figures suspended upside down. Women, children, all still, all silent, and Lana recognized some of them. Old yearbook faces, a missing persons flyer stapled to a telephone pole, the waitress from the diner in town, all strung up like offerings, their eyes sewn shut with crimson thread. She stumbled toward the door, flung it open. Gone. The hallway no longer led to the living room. It led to the woods. Not the woods outside the cabin, no, these were ancient. Too tall, too quiet. The kind of woods that swallowed sunlight whole and never gave it back. She turned around. The kitchen was gone, so was her mother, the boy, the sack. In their place, an archway of woven bone and vine pulsed with a wet sound, like breath caught in a throat. Beyond it, the path stretched forward, narrow, bleeding leaves. A whisper rode the wind. She must walk it. She must carry it. Lana looked down. The seed was in her hand. She didn't remember picking it up, but her palm bled where its ridges bit into skin. It was alive, hungry, and it wanted to be planted. She stepped forward through the arch. The woods swallowed her whole. Branches curled like claws above her, roots snagged her ankles, but she walked. Each step felt heavier, as if the ground were remembering her with every footprint. She saw flashes in the underbrush, women dressed in white, hair hanging like wet curtains, whispering in tongues she didn't know but somehow understood. They reached out, not to hurt, to beg. Their fingers brushed her arm, leaving ash. She didn't stop. A clearing opened. At its center, a stone well, old, covered in moss, symbols carved deep into its base, worn down by centuries. The air shimmered above it like heat off pavement. Lana approached. Inside the well, only darkness. But it looked back. The seed pulsed violently in her hand now. Plant it where the blood runs cold. Her mother's voice, or was it hers? She knelt, raised the seed. But then, footsteps behind her, she turned and froze. The boy stood there, but now he was taller. Older, maybe 16. His skin had stretched unnaturally thin across bones too long for his frame. His face was stitched with bark and soil. His mouth didn't move when he spoke, but she heard him anyway. "You can't give it to the earth. Not yet." "Why?" Lana croaked. "Because it isn't ready." "Then what is it?" His head tilted again. "It's you." The ground beneath her shuddered. Roots coiled around her legs. The forest began to groan, deep, ancient, a sound like tree trunks weeping. And the well began to glow faintly, not with light, but with memory. Images bloomed within. Her mother, standing in this same clearing, crying, holding a baby wrapped in a bloodied shawl. Her grandmother, slitting her own palm and letting blood drip into the well. As a toddler, sitting inside a ritual circle, surrounded by symbols she'd drawn in crayon. The forest was watching. The boy stepped closer. "If you bury it too early, the roots won't hold. If you bury it too late, the roots will take you." What the hell does that mean? But the boy was already crumbling, his skin flaking like old wood. His voice drifting into the wind. "She's waiting for the bloom." The world tilted. Lana fell. Not down, inward. The bloom is not death, it's transformation. Lana woke on a cold slab of stone. Her fingers twitched first, then her arms, heavy, leaden, like she'd been buried under layers of sleep, too deep for dreams. Her eyes adjusted slowly to the darkness. Moss-covered walls surrounded her, etched with grooves and looping serpentine shapes that seemed to pulse if she stared too long. The air stank of iron and roots. She sat up. The well was gone. So was the forest. This wasn't anywhere she'd ever seen, but part of her remembered it. There were torches lining the walls. Their flames burned with a green-blue hue, casting shadows that twisted unnaturally. The floor beneath her was a sigil, concentric circles, branching veins, and in the very center, a blooming flower with an eye at its heart. Something had changed. Her body felt different. Her skin no longer itched where the seed had burrowed. Instead, it hummed faintly, like it had fused with her nerves. She touched her sternum. No wound, no seed, only a faint warmth, steady, rhythmic, alive. Then came the voice, not in her ears, in her blood. We buried her once, but she grew back. Lana turned. From the darkness behind the torches stepped 3 women, identical in face, but not in form. One was cloaked in feathers, one in vines, and the third in a dress stitched from the skin of something not quite human. They bore no eyes, only stitched over sockets, yet they moved with eerie certainty. "Where am I?" Lana asked, breath shaking. The one with feathers stepped forward. "Where every bloom begins." "The rooted temple," whispered the one in vines. "The womb beneath memory," said the one in skin. Lana backed up until she met the cold wall. "What do you want from me?" The trio spoke in unison. "It's not what we want, it's what she left in you." Silence. Then, "The bloom was never meant to be a child. It was meant to be a vessel." Lana's vision blurred. Images flashed in her mind again. The well, the mother crying in the clearing, the boy whispering riddles. The blood on her hands, the seed in her palm. "It's a parasite," she said. "You put it in me." "No," they said as one. "You were born with it. You lie." We watched her cut it from herself. We watched her feed it to the roots, but it always finds a way back. The woman of vines moved forward and extended a hand. "Let us show you." Lana recoiled. "No." But her body moved again, betraying her, limbs bending under a will not her own. The touch was ice and ash. A memory surged forward, not hers, yet painfully familiar. She saw her mother as a child, naked, afraid, standing in a circle of women dressed in ceremonial garb. One woman, the elder matriarch, slid open the girl's abdomen, not deeply, just enough to draw blood. She placed a fragment of something dark into the wound, then stitched it shut with vine thread. The child didn't scream, she just stared. The vision shattered. Lana gasped, stumbling to her knees. "What the hell was that?" "A fragment of your inheritance," the feathered woman said. "Each of you carries a sliver, a shard, a seed, but only one becomes the bloom," murmured the one in skin. "Only one is fertile." Lana gritted her teeth. "I didn't ask for this." "And yet here you are." Behind them, the stone wall began to peel back, like skin parting to reveal meat and bone. Beyond was a chamber filled with roots. Hanging from them were pods, hundreds, thousands, each containing a figure curled into fetal position. Some looked like women, others like creatures never meant to be born. Some pulsed faintly, others twitched. "Failed blooms," one of the women whispered. "Too early, too late." Some refused, others were harvested. Lana's heart pounded like war drums. "What happens to me if I say no?" The feathered woman leaned close. "You don't. Not here." Then they stepped aside. From the shadows emerged a fourth figure. Lana's breath caught. It was her mother. Or rather, it wore her mother's face. But the eyes were wrong. Too calm, too empty. "You were supposed to bloom last cycle," it said, "but I held you back. Hid you, lied for you." "Why?" Lana choked. "I thought I could break it." The voice trembled. "But you grew roots anyway. You were always meant to be her." "Who is her?" They all smiled. The root chamber behind them began to shift, convulse, as something massive moved behind the veil of roots, slow and rhythmic like breathing, the skin of the earth inhaling. And then a voice, impossibly large, echoed through every inch of the chamber. I am the soil. I am the womb. And she is my mouth. The roots surged forward. Lana screamed. Not everything that grows seeks the light. The first thing Lana felt was pressure, like being buried alive beneath 100 layers of earth and silence. Not pain, not even fear, just pressure. Steady and patient, as though something immense had its hand gently wrapped around her lungs, deciding if she was worthy of one more breath. When she opened her eyes, there was no light, only roots. They surrounded her on all sides, thick as tree trunks, pulsing with life, glowing faintly from within with a dull amber hue, like veins beneath skin. The air was warm, damp, and filled with the scent of loam and something sweeter, rotting, organic. She tried to move. Her arms didn't respond. Looking down, she saw she was suspended, wrapped in tendrils like a chrysalis, held aloft in a vertical cocoon that shifted with her breath. It wasn't tight, it wasn't violent. In fact, it almost felt cradling. She wasn't alone. Dozens of other figures floated in the space around her, embedded in the root chambers like dreamers in a collective coma. Some looked serene, others twisted in silent agony, expressions frozen mid-scream or mid-prayer. Lana tried to scream, but only a gasp came out. Then she heard it again. She listens when you sleep. The voice echoed through her mind, not her ears, warm, fluid, and feminine, but ancient, slow, like it had to remember the shape of every word it used. It came from every direction, but Lana knew where it lived. Below her, deep below. Do you understand now, child of the cycle? You are not the seed, you are the soil. A surge of images bloomed behind her eyes. Her mother, arms bloody, teeth gritted, dragging a child through the mud. The flower-eyed boy, whispering from beneath a tree split by lightning, her own body standing in the mirror, mouth open wide and inside her throat, roots writhing. We have slept long enough, the voice continued. The last bloom failed. This time, we feed the world. Lana struggled harder, but the cocoon only pulsed tighter. Her skin began to itch, then burn. Something was moving under her flesh again, veins shifting, bones bending. No, she managed to choke. I won't let you. You don't have to. You were never meant to be a vessel. You are the harvest. The space around her began to tremble. Somewhere nearby, one of the root chambers split open, releasing a withered, silent body that dropped to the floor like overripe fruit. The roots absorbed it instantly. There was no blood, only a hiss of vapor and a brief flicker of light. The system was feeding. Lana's chest tightened. A rhythmic thump pounded in her ears, her heartbeat or something else. She couldn't tell. Then the root wall before her began to part, like curtains in a theater revealing a stage. Beyond it was a figure, massive, unknowable. It wasn't a woman and it wasn't a beast. It had a face made of layered bark and petals, dozens of eyes blooming and withering in cycles across its surface. Its limbs were both vines and bone. Its voice was wind in the dirt. You carry my name. You carry her blood. You carry their defiance. You carry too much. Lana felt her mind begin to splinter. Memories not her own flashed again. Rituals in forgotten groves, songs sung in dead languages, sacrifices made beneath eclipses. Each time a girl chosen, each time the bloom failed, and each time something was left behind. Then a whisper from far away, real this time, not from the soil. Lana. A flashlight beam flickered somewhere above. A voice, hoarse, desperate, human. Lana, can you hear me? It was Cal. He'd come back. The chamber shook again, this time violently. Roots recoiled as if scalded. The figure beyond the veil let out a noise, not pain but displeasure. The cocoon began to unravel and Lana felt her arms loosen. Her body dropped, caught midair by a tangle of soft vines that slowed her fall and deposited her gently onto a root-covered floor. She could stand. She could run. Above, Cal's flashlight beam cut through a crack in the root canopy. Up here, he shouted. I found a way down, sort of. I don't know what this place is, but Jesus, Lana, what is that thing? The figure behind the roots began to move toward her. Lana didn't answer. She turned and ran. Her bare feet slapped against the damp earth as she sprinted toward the crack of light. The roots responded, some retreating, others lunging. She ducked, rolled, screamed as one grazed her thigh and left a burning welt that pulsed like a heartbeat. Cal reached down through a narrow opening between root knots. "Grab my hand!" She leapt, caught his wrist, and he pulled her up with all the force his body could muster. Behind her, the chamber roared, not with sound, but with something worse: disappointment. "You will return, Bloom. You always do." Cal dragged her up onto a moss-covered ledge and collapsed beside her. For a moment, neither of them spoke. Only their breath filled the space. Then Cal looked at her, wide-eyed, trembling. What the hell was that thing? Lana stared back down the passage she'd come from. "It's the mother," she whispered, then, quieter still. "And I think she's waking up." The air shifted the moment they pulled away from the ledge, thickening into something that felt less like atmosphere and more like intention. Cal led the way, flashlight jerking in shaky arcs across the gnarled tunnel walls. The roots here weren't just decorative. They twitched, pulsed, some of them retreating from the light, while others hovered close to Lana's legs like vines, debating whether she was still worth the effort. Neither of them spoke. The silence wasn't safety, it was strategy. Finally, Cal whispered without turning, "You weren't in that chamber long. What the hell happened down there?" Lana, still barefoot and bleeding from her thigh, kept her voice low. "She spoke to me." Cal stopped mid-stride. "She?" Lana nodded, lips pale. "The mother. The root of it all. She's not just alive, she's aware. She's been watching us since we entered the forest, maybe even before." Cal's eyes darted over her shoulder, as if expecting the earth to crack open. "So all of this, the disappearances, the flowers, the hallucinations, they're symptoms. We weren't hallucinating. We were being tested, groomed. For what?" She looked at him then, and something in her gaze had changed, like she'd walked through a door and couldn't go back. "A harvest, and I think I failed her." He didn't ask more. He didn't want to hear the rest. They kept moving, deeper into the tunnel network, following the steady hum that had replaced the forest's usual silence. The sound was low, pulsing, biological, like a heart, and it was getting louder. After a sharp bend, they emerged into a different chamber, this one shaped like an amphitheater, descending in perfect circles into a pit of rotting petals and bone. Above, the ceiling trembled with living tendrils, and in the center of it all stood him, Father Drell. But not the way they remembered. He was taller now, broader, his cassock torn and caked in mud, revealing veins that glowed faintly amber beneath thin, root-textured skin. His eyes were two swirling pits of pollen, his mouth stretched wide in an unnatural smile. "I told you," he said, voice echoing with layered tones, like multiple beings speaking in unison. "She rewards loyalty." Cal lifted the flashlight like a weapon. "What the hell did you do?" Father Drell tilted his head. "I fulfilled my role. I bloomed. Now I usher others into the soil." Lana stepped forward. "You were part of this from the start." He nodded, calmly. "From before the start. I was born into her breath, raised on her sap. My sermons were never mine, they were hers." He raised one hand, and the roots obeyed, rising behind him like a chorus. From the pit, a shape began to rise, not a person, an altar, and something atop it, twitching beneath layers of vine and silk. It was Olivia. Cal gasped. No, she was dead. She died in the van." "She offered herself," Drell said, "but she was never meant for you." The vines began to unravel. Lana's stomach turned as she saw the truth. Olivia's body was intact, but wrong. Her skin blistered with glowing veins, her eyes fluttering beneath lids She wasn't dead. She was being rewritten. "She's a seed," Lana whispered. "No," Drell corrected. She's your replacement. And then the vines moved again, fast. One lashed at Cal, knocking him backwards against the wall. Another coiled toward Lana, but she was ready this time. She rolled, snatched a jagged stone from the floor and sliced the tendril before it could grab her. The vine shrieked like a wounded animal. "Run!" Cal shouted, but Lana didn't. She turned and charged toward the altar. Drell stepped into her path, smiling wider. "You can't save her." "I'm not trying to." She hurled the rock at his face. It hit square in his left eye and he recoiled, howling. Lana reached Olivia just as her eyes opened. They weren't her eyes anymore. They were hers, the mother's. And Lana knew in that moment, she was never the chosen one. She was the catalyst. The mother didn't want obedience, she wanted a mirror. Lana grabbed Olivia's shoulders. "I'm sorry." She pulled a lighter from her pocket. She didn't even remember pocketing it back in the van, but it was there like everything had been pre-written. She lit the flame. Drell's voice thundered. "No," but it was too late. Lana jammed the flame into the root bed beneath Olivia, and fire leapt like it had been waiting all along. The vines screamed. The chamber began to quake. Flames raced across the walls, devouring the roots, crawling toward Drell. He turned and ran, screaming nonsense prayers. Lana turned to Cal. "Now we run." They sprinted up the nearest ramp, the heat licking at their backs, the whole forest groaning like a beast being gutted. Roots crashed from the ceiling. The tunnel began to collapse. They ran. Through choking smoke, twisting paths, up into the night air that now burned with amber pollen and glowing ash. The earth behind them split with the roar of something massive and old and furious. They didn't stop running until the trees thinned and the road emerged like salvation. Cal dropped to his knees. Lana turned to look back. The forest glowed, like it was on fire from the inside out. But deep beneath the ground, something shifted. Something still alive, still waiting, still watching. And in the final gust of wind carried far above the crackling trees, a whisper danced across the ash. The bloom is not the end. It is the beginning. Thank you for staying with us through every shadowed path, whispered secret, and breathless revelation. If you've made it to the end, congratulations. Not everyone escapes the forest. Not everyone survives the bloom. This story was crafted with deep respect for the tradition of horror that doesn't just scare but lingers. If it made you uneasy, curious, or even left a light on in your room tonight, then we've done our job. Special thanks to all the horror lovers, night listeners, and brave souls who continue to support this kind of storytelling. Your feedback, theories, and shared chills mean the world. If you enjoyed the ride, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more original horror tales inspired by folklore, psychological dread, and the unseen world beneath our feet. And hey, if you ever find yourself walking past a field of flowers that seem just a little too alive, keep walking and don't look back. Until next time, stay curious, stay cautious, stay awake.